Welcome to the Everyone Has a Story podcast. When I was growing up in high school and college, I'm going to say an above average student. I wasn't great, but I wasn't average. I was a little bit better than that. But I found that really what kept me going was the creativity of my instructors. If they were fun and creative, I was always right there present. But sometimes they just seemed to be a little bit boring, a little bit stagnant in how they taught, at least to what I enjoyed. And I remember this one guy who really kind of changed my whole outlook on wanting to continue to learn. His name was Mr. Hansen. He was my freshman in college algebra teacher. I didn't do really well in high school with algebra and geometry in those classes just because the teachers just didn't inspire me. And so I walked in thinking, oh my God, I hope this isn't going to be another one of those teachers that just bore me to death. I walk in and here comes this guy. He's probably about 6'5". He looked like he was the size of a teddy bear. And this personality was no different than a teddy bear. Just the nicest guy, just humble guy, but just a whole lot of fun. When he'd get excited about completing an equation and the students answered it, he would almost just jump up on his toes. He was just so excited for everybody. And you couldn't help but just enjoy going to classes, even though it was algebra. And then eventually I took his calculus classes, and he almost had me believing that I should become an algebra or calculus teacher because I was enjoying it so much under his leadership here. And it got to the point to where there were 3 or 4 other guys from the track team, and I'm not talking the runners. I'm talking the heavy guys, the shot putters, the discus throwers, the javelin throwers. We all took this class when we were taking algebra. We took algebra 2, and then we all agreed that we wanted to keep with this guy, so we started taking calculus and calculus 2. And the guy just inspired all of us. When we would talk to him after the class, we had a big exam the next day. His advice was, you guys know this right and left. What you guys should do is go get yourself a case of beer, have a couple of beers and relax, because you guys are worrying about something that you don't need to worry about. You guys are more prepared than most of my students have ever been. And it was that point where this guy said to me, he gave me permission to have fun with math, with calculus, with algebra. And today, when I look back at our businesses today, our organizations today, our leaders today, our employees today, we're missing ongoing leadership. We're missing ongoing learning opportunities. And when I look back, I see, and I talk to so many people who, once they got out of college, they stopped thinking that they needed to learn. Unless it was a corporate event where they had to go and attend because it was required by their organization, they wouldn't pick up a book. They wouldn't do any learning on their own. And today, I think a lot of organizations, a lot of employees, a lot of executives are missing that component. And today we're going to talk about just that way of bringing in fun, creative learning opportunities that I think are going to make it more fun for the employees to want to go, the managers to want to embrace, and the organization to have a better chance of survival. So today we're going to talk with Gitika Chandra. Welcome. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Gitika is the founder of Learning Perspectives. She's an educator, she's an author, and she's a mentor. And when you start to hear about some of the things that she's done, I think it's going to make you at least stop and pause and think, maybe we could do something like that in our organization, for our employees, for ourselves. So Gitika, why don't you give us a little bit more history of you and what Learning Perspectives is?
First of all, thank you so much for that wonderful intro, and also about Mr. Hansen. So I love that story, and I loved your professor that you met who made life easier for you for maths. And just to elaborate on my experience, and like you already mentioned, I've founded something called Learning Perspectives. And I think we'll speak about that a lot more during this interview. However, I would want to just give you a little bit of my background. I started out while being a financial consultant here in India and worked with various organizations, both big and small, only to understand that this is not my calling. My calling was deep and it was with the education sector. And I kept on pursuing it until one day I realized, okay, my calling as a professor has shifted to become as an entrepreneur. And that is when Learning Perspective was born. And I'll speak more about that.
So tell us, what is the basis behind your business Learning Perspectives?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, Learning Perspective started midway for my career when I decided to leave my job as a financial consultant and pursue the education sector. At that time, I wanted to become a professor, really, because that is what I understood at that time. My calling was so big. So I started studying to become a professor, and I had to crack a certain exam to do so. As I was doing that, um, it kind of felt very difficult to me because I was not studying for a very long time. I was working and I was in a professional environment. And later, after 5 years, I was able to crack this. Now, I finally got an opportunity to go to various colleges and teach now. As I went and I was standing in front of class, my heart completely broke as I saw all the students not listening to me. And I wanted to tell them my story and I wanted to say, listen to me, but that's not how it works. So I came back home to realize that education really has lost its essence and it's mainly about grades and assignments. And that was the day my idea became to make education really, really joyous and creative for them. However, at the time, I did not know how to do that. So after 6 months or so, something clicked in my brain, and I just started seeing all the concepts, academic concepts that I had been studying for the last 5 years and had experienced even for 7 to 10 years. Everything I started looking in various movie scenes. And I could see these academic concepts everywhere in every movie scene. And I was like, okay, I think I'm going mad. But that wasn't it. I started teaching like that and it made sense. And that was how Learning Perspectives was born. And that was the beginning of Learning Perspectives. And finally, we started storytelling through Learning Perspectives.
Well, no one loves storytelling more than me. And I love going to movies. And I know walking out of some of the better movies, I think to myself so many times, I can relate to that particular character or those characters and what they're going through and everything like that. But then also, if you keep your ears open, when you're walking out with the crowd, you can hear their own versions of how they can relate. And I love this because to this day, I still use analogies of sports teams, some of my sports heroes, some of those guys who kind of become a bust in sports, but then also TV shows, TV themes, and movies. And I love the idea. But we also know, just like what I experienced when I was in high school, having to go to class with teachers who just could not inspire me. I've talked to a lot of organizations, a lot of teams on organizations, and I can see where half the people, if not more, are lost before they even sit down. They don't want to be there. They're thinking about either their personal life or what they got to do that's work waiting at their desk or whatever like that, and they're just not immediately connected. And as a speaker, as an educator, we know the importance of getting those people connected sooner than later and keep them connected. And it takes creativity, it takes fun, but it also takes discipline, not just from the speaker or the facilitator's perspective, but also the person sitting in the audience. So tell me the bigger picture. Let's talk about the worldview today. How can storytelling through these movie scenes to help people have a better understanding of finances, of communication, of whatever they're dealing with within their organization, how can this help the world today, the bigger picture today?
That's such a lovely question, and I'll elaborate this with an example, um, or with a story rather. Um, so, if you remember, I'll talk about a book, really a man, Jerry. He was one night. He woke up at 2 a.m. in the morning, and this guy is actually working with us. He's working as a sports agent, and he loves his job. He absolutely loves his job and what he does for a living. And he wakes up at 2 a.m. in the morning, and he starts writing, and he's writing, and he has tears in his eyes, and he's so passionate. His heart is racing, and he's also standing on his head once, and his ideas are flowing in his mind. All this is happening, and by the end of that particular night, and that's really morning, at 5 in the morning, he goes out to the market and gets this copy printed or whatever he has written. And then he calls this his mission statement, the mission statement for the business he loves. And uh, he titles this mission statement as things that people do but do not say. And I don't know if you remember this. This comes from a scene from Jerry Maguire. Uh, and he's writing this mission statement. And mission statement, what is mission statement really? It basically defines the purpose of the company. Why do people do what they're doing? What clients or customers they want to serve? And how would they do that? So this is just one small snippet of what I am trying to explain when I'm explaining strategy to students, or when I'm trying to explain what exactly is mission and vision of a company, and how does that really fit in any organization. So from there, we understand how we can relate to various concepts, not just academically. That's one bit of it. That's through schools and colleges. We understand how we can relate to different concepts, but we can relate in organizations as well, because we have so much there. And I think there is so many concepts in organization itself that one can relate to, and departments and people, and so many other things. So this is just one bit of how it reflects on the world. We start relating. We live in a generation where everything is on our fingertips. Internet is there, but do we retain this? Are we able to retain this? Are we able to stop rote learning from the process? My guess is when we use storytelling, we are able to retain concepts for a very long time.
You know, what is it about that 2 a.m. holy shit moment where we wake up wide awake, our heart is racing, and we have some of our more profound just growth at 2 a.m.? I don't understand it, and that's why I call it the holy shit moment, because usually we're in a really good sleep, and then something happens that just says, okay, wake up, you hear the bell ringing, and you just start writing something. I love that. Now, you started to reference the organization. How can storytelling, and especially defining scenes and actors and actresses from movies, how can that really help an owner, a manager, a CEO, an executive?
Wow, that's great question again, because I have been working towards this same process of how storytelling can be connected in organizations. And a very big thing to remember here is that organizations that follow continuous improvement, um, storytelling fuels transformation in these organizations. So, um, if we know that change essentially requires engagement, and organization can create a powerful place of transformation through this storytelling. And why do I say that? Because when we do storytelling strategically, it helps in communication for the organization. So, when I talk about communication, it would help in team building, it will help in negotiation, it would help in pitching. So, these are some of the things that communication helps in. Other things that one can derive from that is that storytelling is a major imperative when it comes to thinking creatively and thinking critically. When we do that, there is innovation, and innovative products and services uh, can be taken out from that process. Also, change becomes quite easier. Organizational change becomes easier when storytelling is adopted, because it provides a safe place for all employees in the organization and gives not only a sense of safety, but it also gives you a sense of camaraderie. And training for employees becomes easier, right? And that's one of the main things, because you are now engaging them at a different level. You're engaging all levels. So new hires, managers, managerial level, and the leadership level are all engaged through storytelling. And again, this essentially leads to higher productivity, which essentially leads to higher revenue for the organization. And that's quite simple, but it all boils down to storytelling. And this storytelling would fuel transformation when it's used strategically.
Now, I I believe that the term team building has kind of been overused because not everybody, a lot of leaders, a lot of owners, a lot of executives think that they are truly team building, where all they're doing is using that term and putting a whole group of people into a room together and they talk. But a couple things that I see missing is really the the understanding and the permission to be emotional. Sometimes emotions are necessary to really let people know how you're truly feeling. In a lot of businesses, they put a squelch on that. They say, let's kind of keep that out, and they keep empathy out. And
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I know that when I watch a good show on TV or a movie on the big screen, if the scene is going to make me laugh, I have no problem laughing. If the scene is going to make me be angry, I can feel it inside. If a scene is going to make me shed a tear, you know what? I bet you I've shed a lot of tears in movie theaters, at the expense of whatever the actors are portraying up there. And to me, that's what I love about storytelling just in general, is because I know that I can tell a story, and if it's got some sad components, you can hear it in my voice. As much as I try to train and try to not have that voice crack because I'm feeling emotional, it happens. And you know what? I don't care, because I want people to know it's okay to be you. Whoever you are, it's okay to be you. And
Yeah.
so, tell me what have you really seen from the emotional side, the empathetic side, on the power behind stories?
That's a First, that's a wonderful point. Like mentioned, the empathy. We, especially in organizations, right? Those impersonal spaces can be brought together by stories, and create a sense of inclusion and safe spaces, like I mentioned. It's so important for all of us to recognize that how powerful these stories are. And like you're saying, right, how one can apply storytelling to various, um, business, really, and understand their power. So, we at Learning Perspectives have a mission that we need to make storytelling our underlying theme. And on that, we will create value for organizations, create value for students, create value for college going students and school students as well. So, storytelling, especially if we're looking from a student point of view, is something that creates a um, lot of camaraderie for them, right? It makes and also helps them think critically and creatively, and that is the power there. Secondly, one needs to understand that it also create, like you mentioned, it gives, when I am storytelling, it helps a lot of them to, kind of come together and feel that they are part of this whole process, whole group. And empathy, it qualifies as empathy also. They feel a sense of belonging there. And when I also, talk about conducting financial literacy classes at various schools or financial literacy at various colleges, that helps. Storytelling really helps me because these are people who don't know about finance, because that's not in their curriculum. And when I talk to them and convey it in a way which is told through movies, which everybody, stories, because they are multicultural and they do not have, they have the same impact everywhere. Then the toughest and the hardest concepts can be understood in the simplest of ways. And that is the power of storytelling.
So, put your mentor hat on now. You're walking in an organization, you're going to be talking to the leaders, the owners, the managers, the executives. How are you going to help them implement and introduce storytelling to that organization and to their teams?
Yeah. So I think, like you only mentioned that, storytelling evokes emotions, all sorts of emotions. And we have to understand that persuasion is the centerpiece of storytelling. And once we understand this concept, not just understand this, we can apply this in organizations. And how do we do that? We can do that across the organization. Now, communication, like I had already mentioned, is the centerpiece, and it's to be used across. Now, when we work, I have had the opportunity to work with both US, UK, and Indian clients, and I saw difference in communication throughout. And what I realized in the process is, some people are very direct through their cultural effects, while some of them, Indians, let's say, are not very direct in their professional communication. So when we train them through the process of storytelling, these these things to communicate these things to them becomes very easy. And once I communicate this to them, they understand it at a deeper level, and there is a sense of change that can. So that's just one aspect of how change can occur. Now, when we talk about different, how storytelling can be incorporated in organization, it can start with, bigger themes, right? Such as people, in which people are interested. So negotiating deals is one of the aspects. Then we have, pitching to the clients our products and services, and things such as positioning of our products and services again. And when I see all this, one needs to understand the importance of storytelling while doing this. So, the founder story, equally important. How we are pitching to the client, very, very crucial. Training to the employees, and building relationship both inside and outside the company. So, one important factor is we do all this through storytelling and understanding that when we have an authentic story that we can build on, then the client would invest in us in the moment, would invest in our story in the moment, not in the company, really. So, when I tell you an authentic story, you would invest in me, right? That's how powerful stories are, because that is when you would be able to connect with me. And we really need to understand that power and use story strategically.
Well, like I said, you're preaching to the choir with me when it comes to storytelling. And I'm glad that there's other people out there that have unique processes to help organizations and individuals be better storytellers, not public speakers. It doesn't have to be public speaking. It has to be just inside their community or with their whoever they're dealing with, and really having the confidence to tell a good story that's going to help them move forward with their career, their business, and their customer satisfaction. I love that. Gitika, give us some final words of encouragement to go out there, enjoy a movie, and share it where it's relevant in our professional lives.
Yeah, so I think first would be to keep an open mind, and have a sense of humor. Don't take yourself seriously, and look at different perspectives. So I always say this to all my students, looking at different perspectives. So if I were to draw 9 on my hand right now and put it like this, you would see it as a 6, right? That's perspective. We both are correct at our own places. We are seeing the same thing differently. And learning happens wherever you are. You don't need to be in a classroom to learn things. However, you can learn it even while watching a movie. So, uh, we try to open your minds, and we do learn life lessons from movies, right? We can learn even finance, tax, management, and all other subjects with movies as well. So I think closing words would be to look at different perspectives and have fun while doing so. Thank you.
And don't look at the TV as what we consider here in the United States as the boob tube. Look at it as a resource to help you learn and convey your messages differently. Gitika, I can't thank you enough for being my guest speaker today. How can someone from the audience reach out to you and get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I think the best place right now would be to get in touch with me on LinkedIn, and also my website. It's learningperspectives.in. You can reach out to me at both places. You can leave me a message on LinkedIn. I will be sure to reply to you, and would also share my new ebook on finance, which you can again learn with movies.
Absolutely. And I'm an avid reader, and this is a fun book, especially when it takes such a dry subject as finance, both personal and professional finance, and brings it to a whole new level of understanding in a fun way and not in that somewhat boring, dry economic way. So thank you for that. And yes, everybody reach out and acquire this book from her. It's someone that we need to listen to, and someone that's a book that we need to read. Gitika, thank you again for being my guest, and I hope to have you on real soon on another segment.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much for having this podcast. I'm very, very grateful to you. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. My podcast wouldn't be the same if it wasn't for my sponsors and my great supporters. So let me take this opportunity to thank each and every one of them. First of all, I want to thank Rebecca at Custom Bookkeeping and Accounting, delivering trustworthy bookkeeping services since 2003. Dave and Dara at Virtues Matter, making this world a much happier place to be with their Virtues card apps, coaching, and workshops. Stephen at Buller Accounting, giving business owners depth and insight to their numbers. Eric and his team at Ivy Cat Web Design, the real superheroes of web development and design. Jennifer and Jean at the Seavers Real Estate Team, serving Pierce and Kitsap counties with their home buying and selling needs. Maury at the Maury Method, the world's only brainwave entrainment engineer, helping everyone have more clarity, less stress, and overall better brain health. Priya at Pivot My Profit, helping individuals and businesses have better control of their finances and more money at the end of their day. Melissa at the Soul Vibe Energy High, the queen of the aha moments, helping individuals find those holes in their cups, repair the hole, and gain back their positive energy. And finally, Rick at West Sound Recording. You talk, they do all the rest. Thank you, Rick, for all your efforts with the production and editing of my podcast.